A lot of people are not aware that our sort of global food supply is on a 90-day timeline. 90 days specifically is relating to the 3-month cycle of sowing and harvesting. If at any stage in time that is disrupted significantly, that causes a serious effect on the global food supply chain. The food supply chain is so broken at the moment, and that's beyond the ambit of any one government. It's a global issue. Governments could identify groups like ours and others who are doing a good job and possibly find templates that work. That for me would be a grassroots movement that would also help people get their confidence back in their governments. Because we're farming on such a large scale, it's money, money, money. It's basically everything's about, production and how much you can produce. To farm that way, you have to use a lot of fertilizer, a lot of heavy machinery, tractors, and eventually what that does is that causes the soil to be depleted. And I think a lot of people have lost confidence in the mass-produced, mass-manufactured methodology, which has served the 20th century really well, but I don't think it's something that the 21st century wants to continue with. The solution is geopolitical. If governments could work in tandem with their people, I think we would find much more efficient solutions than just leaving it in the hands of corporations who essentially are largely the ones that have created the climate crisis.
My name is Andrina Maxwell. I'm the Managing Director for Dwali Supplies and General Dealers. I'm into value addition of breakfast porridge. The product, it's called Watanzufa Wapala, which means it's highly nutritious because we're using fortified maize, which is yellow maize. And then the product has got about five ingredients. We're using yellow maize, millet, rice, groundnuts, and soya beans. For me to get these inputs, sometimes the prices are very high, so we get them from different markets, as well as we also have some farmers that grow for us, and then we are the ready market for them. But sometimes the demand for the raw materials is too high. We thought of having a backup, and the backup is we are now farmers. We also farm the ingredients so that whenever we don't find them in the market, we should still exist in the market. We should still be producing. So when we get all the ingredients, we take them to a different maize mill that process for us, and then we get them back here, and then we package them.
We met 2 years ago, and I've seen, I think, her in her own right transform her business away from doing a specific thing to sort of various ways of value addition. I think my question would be, what would be your key lessons from this, and what would you anticipate or expect from an initiative such as the Market Observatory in order to assist you further?
I think the way you're providing information to me has been very beneficial to me because it helps me make decisions on whether to continue with the product that I'm doing or not, or go for another alternative so that I can still continue existing in business. So that's one thing that I appreciate so much. The information is very helpful, and it has really helped me to, to venture into different, kind of businesses that I'm doing. $300. The 2 kgs. 2 kg, 3,000.
Research institutions and public institutions like ourselves actually play a critical role in some of the advocacy efforts that governments are working towards.
Government is playing a bigger role because they've given us opportunities that when we know the prices, I'm able to buy from there if I compare the prices right here. So they've opened up for us to be able to get things from other countries, which is helpful to our businesses in Malawi.
A lot of our work has also informed quite a bit of decision making by institutions such as the Competition and Fair Trading Commission when it comes to their own analysis in terms of how they regulate markets, for instance, when they're making decisions regarding mergers.
So it's not really the government, supporting the farmers or the people in agriculture, but people now thinking, how do we survive? They've now decided to go for other options, but definitely the prices this year, they are going to impact the production for the year.
We essentially deal with markets and how markets should be fair, but what we've come to see is that the crisis around climate sort of exacerbates the way that markets are not working. So addressing issues around climate change are very well within the agenda, I think, to make more efficient markets. On our side, from the economic perspective, the issues around exploitation are really around addressing the structure of markets and looking at how the key market players are able to essentially exploit their positions of power for rents or to gain higher profits. Essentially, players in various different value chains that are vertically integrated, have access and control over key inputs, have power to determine the price, bargaining power to determine the price of products at different levels, and in many instances this comes to the detriment of smaller producers and also consumers at large.
And I would comment that I've experienced that in the past, because being a small entrepreneur against big companies, that we go to the same market to buy the raw product, raw materials for our products. So you go there, and then the way I see the exploitation is more or less like the bigger companies determine the price. So I end up, maybe coming back without buying the raw materials, meaning my business is now at standstill. What's the feedback from us, the people that you're working with? Because I've given you my feedback, but I don't know whether you've managed to get feedback from others and see how effective the information that you provide to us, and what are your way forward for the coming this year?
Yeah, I think the feedback, such as from people like yourself, are the basis for us continuing our work. And outside of Malawi, we do work with women in Zambia and Tanzania, for example. And they have also reiterated to us how important and useful this information has been, especially at the small and medium scale agri-producer perspective. So that in itself provides the basis for us to continue. And the work that we have in parallel with you and authorities alike sort of, allows for a rethink of how markets should be working. And we think that we play a critical role in providing information to do that. I think governments recognize the importance of the work that we're doing. Unfortunately, in many instances, there's issues around sources of funding and the fact that they have to prioritize certain work over others. But I think that the involvement of regional bodies and regional institutions comes and sort of alleviates that pressure from national institutions from the funding side. However, they are very open and very welcoming of the information and to take that on board in terms of the decisions that they're making.
So yeah, it's been very helpful, and I look forward to continue interacting with you, getting more information from you, because it's making me grow. Yeah. As you've said, I wasn't like this before we met, and I'm growing, and I'm sure we're growing together. And I know my growth is also part of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.